Hi, everyone. I'm Rosemarie Miller here with Marisa Dellato, an entertainment reporter for Forbes, here to tell us about Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher sending over letters of support for Danny Masterson on his rape trial. Thank you so much for joining me today, Marisa.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, for starters, can you just give us a little background? What happened?
Danny Masterson was an actor best known for his roles on That 70s Show. He was accused of raping three different women by prosecutors between 2001 and 2003. His initial trial was resulted in a mistrial, and he was recently put on trial again, convicted of two of those three assaults, and was recently sentenced to 30 years to life in prison for his crimes.
And Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who were also on That 70s Show, they sent over letters of support for Danny during this time. And
Yes,
could you
in the
tell me, like,
interim,
mhm.
oh, sorry. In the interim between the time that he was found guilty and when he was sentenced, um, people who were close to him sent over letters of support to the judge. Ultimately, it is the judge's decision on how, someone will be sentenced. And this is a very typical thing that happens. People will send over character witnesses, um, urging either for leniency or, if you are someone who has been harmed by this person, you will, push for the most severe sentence. This is extremely typical, is procedural. And during this time, his co-stars, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, along with Deborah Jo Rupp, and other people, his family, other actors, people in his circle sent over letters of support asking that the judge sentence him with leniency, not that he should be innocent, not that, anything should happen, but that a lighter sentence should be given to him.
So Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, they have faced quite a bit of backlash for sending over these letters of support. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so their letters were extremely intimate and talked about the 25-year long relationship they've had with Danny Masterson. After that 70s show, um, Ashton Kutcher had another show with Danny Masterson, The Ranch, which he was written off from once these allegations surfaced in 2017. Both Mila and Ashton wrote extensively about, what a guide he's been to both of them. He to directly mention evidence in the case, or at least indirectly hint at it. Masterson was accused of drugging his accusers, and both Mila and Ashton said that he has been very steadfast in encouraging them to live a drug-free life, which is very difficult in Hollywood. These letters became public, and which is not unheard of in these situations, particularly when there is a high-profile someone on the stand and who has been accused and is facing, sentencing. And people are very outraged. I mean, it's one thing, this is complicated when someone in your life who maybe you've had one relationship with has been accused of doing something so terrible and vile. And maybe, that hasn't been done to you, but to kind of stick your neck out to send such support, people really took it as them saying, we believe Danny over these women, especially, Ashton Kutcher he does a lot of work with, people who have been sex trafficked and that sort of thing. And people were like, how can you, want to help people, in this area and also be almost, they saw it as defending a convicted rapist. So Ashton and Mila put out a video over the weekend on Instagram of them saying that they did not want their letters of support for leniency of their friend to discount the experience of any survivors of sexual assault, or to discount the experiences or the conviction of the people who specifically accused Danny.
Well, you said that, these letters are commonly made public, but I remember in the Iggy Azalea and the Tory Lanez case, Tory Lanez was on trial for shooting Meg the Stallion, and Iggy Azalea, she wrote a letter of support defending Tory, and she flat out said she didn't know that her letter was going to be public. How would she not know? And do you think this is the same case for Ashton and Mila?
I think in any situation, it is always a risk that your letters could be made public, whether one side ends up leaking them, whether it is just simply in court filings, which is very common that when a sentencing memorandum is issued, it's going to be made public on, as many court documents are, and these will be included. And so they are evidence, they are public information. And so that happens. If someone, wasn't told that, I mean, maybe it is the person asking them knows, like, they're, I don't want to say that Ashton and Mila were misled. I don't believe so. Maybe Iggy Azalea was misled into thinking that her statements wouldn't be made public. But this happens. And sometimes people make it public because they want it to be clear, hey, I am supporting this person. And I did stick my neck out for them. I don't know if Mila and Ashton knew that this would become public, knew that it would be, that they would receive such backlash for doing so, and that it would be made such a big deal.
Has there been any reporting on Mila and Ashton losing any brand deals?
I don't know. I don't think either of them are really, strong with doing, collaborations or what have you. But I think right now, I would take a second guess at maybe, if they have a project coming up, maybe, wanting to put them front and center right now, because what this did was what their letters did. Not only did they support someone who has been convicted of sexual assault, they reminded their audience, their fans, we've known this person since the time that these alleged assaults happened. These assaults happened during the time that 70 show was on, that they were friends. We've remained extremely close friends. They, reminded everyone that they could have had knowledge about these assaults. And so really, that's really hard for fans to grapple with. I haven't seen anything that has reported that they've lost out on, but I bet their teams and, teams that are associated with them are definitely going to pump the brakes. That 90s show was a revamp of that 70s show that aired earlier this year on Netflix. Ashton and Mila very briefly occurred, along with other stars, Topher Grace, Wilbur Valderrama, and Laura Prepon. Danny Masterson's character of Hyde was not even mentioned in the reboot. And, while I'm sure that project is, halted right now because of the writer and actors strike, if they had an opportunity or were planned on, making another cameo in season 2, I don't know if, maybe Netflix isn't going to want to have them right now and have, the show is already tainted with this legacy because of Danny Masterson and now with the support. And, there's also people are really digging into Ashton Kutcher's past and past comments he's made about other women. And they're really digging into, these stars and have these people had very good reputations, and should they have had very good reputations for this whole time? Fans are angry and they're doing their investigative work. So I think this definitely could have an impact. I think that impact will get less and less severe as the dust from these trials fades, as we move on, as, things go. But for right now, I definitely would hold the brakes. Yeah.
Long story short, do you believe it's in the best interest of celebrities to even write the letter of support in the first place, just in case that person is found guilty?
I think if you are willing to stand by that person and have your words, however nuanced they are, however you may mean them, people are just going to see, oh, they wrote a statement of support. They're supporting that person, right? If you are okay with being linked to that person and whatever crimes they did, go ahead. You have to be clear. You have to understand that a lot of people are not going to take the time to read your letter. They're not going to take the time to understand the nuance you may have put into it, and the fact that you're just vouching for them, to be able to spend time with their kid or whatever it may be. People in your audience are not going to see that. And you have to decide, is it better for me to, in my heart, to not support my friend because I'm scared of what it will do to me? Or is it better for me to, sit this one out and support them on maybe a one-to-one basis because it really could cause damage to me? That's a situation that you're going to have to sit with. And that's on you. And if you just, have this possibly happen to you, go ahead. Because now it's, a lot of people are even questioning, why are they friends with someone who did this? Yes, you're supporting your friend. Why are you friends with someone who was convicted of this? And that's, your character comes into question. So I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're friends with people in those situations, that's on you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Marissa.
Thanks for having me.